We have been living in our self-built van for about 2 years now. Before we moved into this thing, we had never picked up a power tool in our lives, and we built everything from scratch.
We're excited to finally give a tour of the van and reflect a little bit on what we think works really well about this design, as well as what could be improved, and decide what comes next for us. So let's jump right in. As you step in, we're entering the kitchen. We'll start with some of the appliances in here. So here we have a 3-burner gas stove, gray stone, and quite a big oven space in the bottom, perfect for pizzas. Speaking of cooking, in order to cook well, you of course need to have all your plates and bowls. We have more space down here. One thing you'll notice throughout this van tour is that the van is so small, we made sure to make use of every single inch. So here we have kind of a Lazy Susan style door that opens up, and we have room for our Tupperware, and down here some cutting boards and baking sheets and whatnot. And we have even more room back here for muffin pans. While we're down here, I can show you the pantry. It has a cushioned top, so it's a nice place to sit to have a guest. But on the inside, there's tons of room for all of our non-perishables, and it gives us plenty of room here still to access our catch-all drawer. There's another drawer down here actually, which is for more long-term storage items we don't use nearly as often, which we can access by pulling this pantry out. Also down here is where we keep our propane. It is in a sealed box with the hole in the bottom, the whole shebang. One thing that is a huge pet peeve of mine is not having enough surface space to do whatever it is I'm doing, which is why we made sure to lay this van out in such a way to maximize the amount of counter space we have. And we succeeded pretty well, I think, because we actually have more counter space in here than we did in our last apartment. Now, it doesn't look like much when you know, at a glance, but that's because there's secret counter space. First, we have a cutting board that slides out here. It is actually butcher block board, and you can treat it with your cutting board oil. Also serves as a pretty functional table. It can hold a good bit of weight. Sometimes we'll put laptops or other things on here. But if that's not enough, if you're hosting a party and need to prepare a feast, we have even more counter space here. This is a hinged countertop, which swings up and locks into place here, which gives us all the room in the world for everything we could possibly need, including Lexi's coffee cup, which is not supposed to be in the video. So with this in place, I have everything I could possibly need, but we can have even more space when we pull the fridge out. So this is actually a chest freezer, a 3.5 cubic foot chest freezer that is being run through a thermostat. Doing it that way saves a lot of power. These chest freezers are better insulated than your typical dorm fridge or upright fridge. And on top of that, you get a lot more space. And for us, a big priority was being able to be off-grid for lengthy periods of time, which means having plenty of space for our perishables down here.
Oh no!
If I can direct your attention this way. So we have here easy access spices. These little plastic spice racks have started to break, as you can see. In fact, they started to break the week we installed them, but there are better versions of this. But the idea here, of course, stands. The same kind of philosophy here with all of our wooden utensils. They look beautiful, which is part of the reasons they're exposed, but also it's just so easy whenever you're cooking to grab whatever you need. And in fact, this works better than a typical kitchen, I think, where you have to search for cooking utensils within your drawers, dig through them. Here you can see everything and just choose what you need. Of course, you can't forget the knife rack. The question we always get is, there's no way they stay on, right? They do. Even on the bumpiest of roads, we have never had anything fall off of here. Again, most used knives and our most used measuring cups, easy access, beautiful and functional. And that's the synthesis we aim for. One of my favorite things about this van is this pantry, because it actually serves multiple functions. If there's ever a time when one of us is in the bed and we haven't converted it to the working mode, this gives us another space to be working.
We really wanted to use repurposed wood, so a lot of this wood comes from old pallets. Nathan actually had the really great idea of, for the kitchen, making it kind of this like repurposed white color, and then having like what looks like moss growing in between the spaces.
After putting up the insulation, we put up utility paneling and then screwed these pallet boards into the utility panels. And that left all of these screws exposed.
And at first we were like, man, that's a lot of screws in the wall. But it actually has come to serve like a really important functionality that we love. We have these really high strength magnets and they just stick right to all of these little screws. We can just move it wherever we feel like we need it.
For our sink, we have a floating wash pan with a bar top resin in the bottom. We have two different faucets here. We have filtered water from this faucet, and from this faucet, we have tap water, which is activated by the little foot pump here. And the reason we went with the foot pump is because we can really control the amount of water we're using and really minimize waste, which is really important if you're trying to stay off grid for a long time, which is why we also went with a 30-gallon water tank, which, believe it or not, is right here. The water we use runs down to the bottom of the van and over into a gray water tank, which we can drain with this switch here. The way we fill our water tank is accessing it from the outside here. We do have an air exhaust and overfill spout that just hangs out the door. This valve here is actually at a right angle coming up to about within a centimeter of the top of this tank. This is a 30-gallon tank and I wanted to use 30 gallons of it. The fill nozzle is at the bottom. It's actually a right angle valve. We keep our refill hose in a compartment in the passenger side door, and we rigged it up with this quick connect adapter so that we can just plug and play. And then to unplug, it's as easy as that. We also have a little switch here for turning the pump on and off, the water pump. That helps with priming the pump whenever we run totally dry on water. Once we use a good bit of the filtered water or any of our tap water, the pump kicks on. And it sounds like this. Which is why we don't have it on all the time. We have an accumulator tank in here. In fact, let me just show you what's behind here. This is our trash can. This is another thing that looks simple, but I am so proud of it. We're able to go, sometimes a week or more without having to change the trash can. With this system, we have a self-priming water pump, an accumulator tank, as well as a water drop filter. The only way we were able to fit this big old trash can inside the plumbing area was by building all of this out in SketchUp first, even using the dimensions of the appliances we were going to buy. Lexi and I are both filmmakers, so we know about lighting, and top lighting tends to be pretty harsh, which is why we installed these lights. These are just LED puck lights, and they're really beautiful at night and creates a much more aesthetic and flattering look.
This is our bedroom / office. Honestly, the color difference of the boards, having this brown contrasted against the white, makes it feel a little bit bigger. Same boards as those, as the ones in the kitchen, just stained differently. Same concept here is, having to fill in the gaps. This is also another reason why it took us forever to finish this space. Between each crack is an excerpt from Walden that Nathan and I have both read, and we're like, this is lovely. He dwelt, as it were, in a tent in this world and was either threading the valleys or crossing the plains or climbing the mountaintops. That's always really fun. That actually never gets old. And sometimes when you're in a mood and you just happen to read a little excerpt, sometimes it just happens to be exactly the one that you needed to hear in that moment. Sleeping is really nice. I'll keep my shoes off the bed. And you'll see here that there's this big skylight. It is so lovely to wake up and the whole space is just lit with natural light, or when you fall asleep and you can just see the stars. It opens. So if we have the fan on the setting that sucks out air out of the van, and then we have this cracked open, it creates this very nice draft. This is how we keep it open because we never got around to installing something that is attached to it. But these little locking mechanisms, keep it in place, keep it watertight. And then there's lights here as well, so if we need to just quickly access some lights. And you can see we didn't finish this area because we had been building for 10, 11 months. We're just like, I can live with it. I just want to get on the road. The transition into work mode is about 2 to 3 minutes, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So one thing I really like about this workspace is that it is super modular. We can work like this and then have little back pillows to kind of help support our back. Or, oops, we can also completely turn the table around, and it's super, super heavy, so this table just is not going anywhere. It's very, very sturdy. I can also put my pillow up like this, and this is usually how I work. I have my legs outstretched, I can recline a little bit, and I can kind of scoot the table however I want. And you can also open up the doors, so if you want to enjoy the view, you can do that as well.
The first thing, and probably the best thing in my opinion about the van when it comes to storage, are these partitions. We have room for underwear, socks, shorts. I have all my t-shirts and long sleeve shirts in here. And better yet, look at that. It looks like it shouldn't be able to work, and originally we had the idea of running string along here to make to kind of keep these all in place, but we ended up not even having to do that. These shelves hold a lot more clothes than even what's here, and if you need proof for that, here's Lexi's side. Really testing the limits of my engineering. I was really questioning whether or not this design was going to end up working. Thought it might become really frustrating to have to pull out and rearrange. It actually works most of the time. Sometimes some clothes hang out and you need to tuck it back in. Vast majority of the time it works perfectly. For those special case accessories like your raincoats, your winter coats, whatever, we have storage in the overhead. So as you can see, the workspace area is elevated. This step itself is actually storage. You can't see it there, but there are shoes even tucked under these partitions. You know, the cavity there goes from one side of the van to the other. And then because this is elevated, we're able to use everything beneath it as storage, including the benches. We keep the cushions when they're in bed mode over here. We don't have to access it. One thing we do access often is right here. So you lift this up, and as you can see, we have more shoe storage, which we don't know why. We never use those shoes, but this is our dirty laundry. It goes all the way to the floor of the van. It's attached by hooks here, and whenever this fills up, all we have to do is unhook all of these, lift it right on out, and then we have our laundry bag ready to go. We really can, and we really do, go weeks at a time without doing our laundry. This is where our blankets go when they're not being used. And over here, we have our extra backpacks and work bags. There's a few other things down there that we can access from the back. But this is the crown jewel of the lifted floor storage. So we are full-time filmmakers, and this is where we store a lot of our camera gear and whatnot. So by removing that stuff, you can see we have access to our solar charger, our fuse box, which is for both our DC and our AC power. If we ever need to turn the power off in the van, we have these switches here. And this is for charge controller to battery, battery to inverter, and battery to DC power. If we do need to access the battery for whatever reason, this actually slides out fairly easily. And while I'm not incredibly proud of my cable management here, it works. Right down here, we have our inverter on-off switch, and right here, we have our solar monitor. Inverter runs to 4 different outlets in the van, 2 back here in the workspace, 1 here and 1 back here. We also have 2 in the kitchen, 1 here and 1 over here, which is powering the most important device in the van. That is our Wi-Fi router. It is the T-Mobile home internet device, and you are explicitly not allowed to use it while traveling. We're not using it while traveling. It's $50 a month for unlimited, true unlimited, non-throttled hotspot data. We have it running 24/7. It's always plugged in, it's always on, it's not very power hungry at all, and the range is incredible. There have been times when I'm in a coffee shop and realize after a few hours of working that I've been on the van Wi-Fi from the parking lot, and it's still strong as can be. We also have a Wii Boost on the top of the van that swings up on a hinge, which strengthens the signal. One thing that was really important to us is to have access to the cab from the living area. That's not just for security, it's also just for convenience. It's very easy to hop through, especially for Lexi because she's so tiny and nimble. so long, bandits. Security cameras are another really good addition to the van, but more important than the security camera is this little guy right here. These stickers, warning, 24-hour video security system. Really the key to van security is make your van look like it is not the easiest target around. We do use Reolink security cameras. We have these motion sensor lights. They're very bright. So if somebody approaches the van at night, they're suddenly flooded in light. And second, they kind of look like security cameras by themselves. We have one on both sides of the van, and we considered putting one on the back, but we already have our backup camera there, which looks pretty intimidating. Speaking of, super high angle backup camera makes it great for parallel parking this thing. There's no way we'd be able to otherwise. Yeah, this is a pretty good demonstration of what this is used for. An additional security feature, somewhere under here there is a key lock that is bolted into the chassis of the van. It requires both a key and a passcode to get inside, and that's where we keep spare keys. The really big pull-out drawer that we access from the back doors is actually an added security feature.
So the only way that you can access that drawer is if both of the doors are open. When the doors are closed, we deadbolt those back doors. And we also have a lock on that deadbolt. So if you do not have the key to that lock, you cannot undeadbolt it. And if you cannot undeadbolt it, you cannot open those doors. And if you cannot open those doors, you cannot access whatever treasures are in that giant drawer. My mom calls it the mother-in-law suite.
Nice.
Which I think is hilarious.
You first.
Bathroom. And by bathroom, I mean toilet.
This here is our bathroom. It is a pretty rudimentary setup. First, we have our toiletry shelf, and this here is our toilet.
So to avoid unpleasant odors, you have to separate your liquids from your solids. Solids, not an issue.
It's the luggable loo. We use peat moss in it, and honestly, it works great. I'm surprised by how well this thing has worked. It is clean, it is odor-free, and it's cheap. This thing's 30 bucks. For the fluids, we have a big old portable water tank here with this little funnel, and I'll let you use your imagination as to how that works.
Ladies are not the best at that sort of thing. So usually the solution is a female urinary device, but then the amount of time that it takes me to use the bathroom is tripled or quadrupled.
If we could find a solution that allows them to be both in the same contraption, that would be amazing. Unfortunately, the only options on the market either use a lot of chemicals or a lot of waste, or are ridiculously expensive and not actually that functional.
Yes. At the end of the day, it's not so inconvenient and so unbearable that it's a deal breaker. We had gone into this knowing that there would be a compromise with the floating sinks, namely when you're doing dishes.
It wasn't a horrible choice.
No.
Like, we knew what we were compromising on. I think what we didn't realize is how long 30 gallons of water would last us. We don't have a shower on the van, so we're not actually using that much water. We're really conservative when we're doing dishes. We could probably live with cutting out 5 to 10 gallons and drop that sink. That would be really nice. We would move the gray water drain switch to the front, to the cab, because it would be so much better if whenever we pulled up to a drain spot, we could just hit a switch there rather than hopping back here and switching it.
So guess who always has to crawl back here and flip the switch?
She's nimble. And the last thing I would definitely change, we probably are going to change, is the mattress configuration. Right now we have a 6-inch mattress split into 2 long pieces, which serve as our bench cushions, and 4 smaller pieces. We cut them into 4 specifically so that we could fit them into the storage under the bench whenever this is in work mode.
Those cushions take up a lot of storage space.
We literally are now using that storage space for something else. So for the past few months, we have rarely been converting it into work mode because we just pile our cushions up front, and that's even worse. Aside from that, I don't think I'd change much. Given the financial and practical confines we had, I wouldn't change much. There are a lot of compromises you make when you move into a van full time. And the design of your van, I think, is really what determines whether or not those compromises are worth it. One thing that I found really beautiful is that building this van taught me so much about design thinking and why it's so relevant in your life, in every aspect of your life, whether it's the house you're living in, the room you're staying in, the clothes you wear, the things you buy in your life. There's this balance between it being actually functional and meets your own priorities and your own values in life, and aesthetically being something that represents who you are as an expression of yourself. And when you can nail both of those things, it's fulfilling in a way most other things aren't.
And something I'd always kind of believed to be true, but never really felt until we were in the van, was that your space absolutely has an impact on the way that you feel. And obviously the way that you feel influences the way that you move about the world and the way you see the world and the way you see yourself even. And so to be in a space that the moment you wake up puts you in such a childlike excitement for the day. You know, you're noticing something else that you never noticed before, you know, even 2 years in. That has a profound impact on everything.
When you think back to what are like the quintessential van experiences relevant to the design?
Anybody who's ever been a part of van life for however long knows that whenever you encounter that community, you never make friends so deeply and so quickly. The only other time I can compare it to is when you're in kindergarten. You know, everyone's just like, hi, what's your name? You want to be a friend? Okay, cool. You know, within hours, it's just like, let's make some dinner, let's have a potluck, and to be able to have this huge entertaining space. So even if it rains, even if it's cold, and that's been incredibly special. How much longer do you want to be in the van?
I really couldn't put a date on it. I feel like
I know, same. I feel like I've just moved into it. Just the pure excitement of being in this space. It feels like I've just moved into it.
I'd really love to ship it overseas.
Did you see that pleading look you just gave me?
I just can't see myself parting with this space. It feels like such an extension of who we are. So personal in a way. If you're somebody who's thinking about designing your own van or your own space, it is so worth sitting down and thinking to yourself, what are the experiences that make me happiest? And how can I invite those sorts of experiences and elevate them for myself?